Evening, everybody. Hope you like our little countdown. It was makes me laugh, that. Welcome to Skills Alive in 30 with me. I'm Eleanor from Girls Alive, and this is Amanda Sharples, who is our open water swimming coach, Girls Alive open water swimming coach in general, in fact, and endurance swimmer herself. She's done some amazing swim challenges herself and has got a lot of open water experience, which we're very grateful that she's going to share with us this evening. So this session really is just about an absolute introduction to open water. I know we've had a lot of new members recently, and of course, because the pools have been closed, there's been even more interest in open water. So you are very welcome this evening. And we hope that perhaps if you have any questions that we don't cover, then there is the comments box. So if you just want to pop any questions in there, they'll come through to me, and either I'll interject and ask Amanda about those, or we'll maybe save a few of them till the end. And if we don't get a chance to go through them all, in fact, we can email you later. Cool. So, hi, Amanda.
Hello as well, so we know who's there.
Yeah, come and say hello. Say hello so that we know that people are there. So Amanda, do you want to kick off with the open water environment?
Yeah, so we're going to go through the environment, kit, where to swim, kind of how to get started. We will talk about safety in cold water because that's important. And Eleanor will fill you all in of what we've got coming up, which is lots of exciting plans. So hopefully, well, it doesn't actually matter if you are swimmers or not at this point, because Girls Alive and certainly will be running some swim lessons and that, but we can't quite get into the pools yet. But if you are sort of a swimmer and feel happy swimming, sort of transitioning to the open water is going to be obviously quite different. So different from the pool in many reasons. So sort of having a think about the environment. I'm pretty sure, well, you all would have seen on the Girls Alive Instagram and Facebook and that, lots of pictures of us in the rivers and lakes and the sea, and it's been great fun. There's no lane ropes, there's no pool ends. The water visibility is very different in different bodies of water than to a swimming pool, obviously. Your entries and exits may be very different. There might not be lovely steps just to climb down. You might have to drag yourself over a muddy ditch like we do at the Dolphin Dipper.
Which is actually quite fun, part of it really, isn't it? Once you're used to it, yeah.
It is. It's a bit of adventure, which is always fun, always good. A lot of the things come back to safety as well with the open water environment and things to think about. You don't necessarily know what's in the water, which is especially true of rivers and that. If any sort of debris or anything's come down, we might not be aware of all the depths of the water, and the water depth and the bottom may change as well, which is obviously unexpected compared to swimming pools. There may be other things in water, buoys like swim buoys. There may be other water users, sup boards, depending on where you are, and other swimmers with their head down, swimming happily all over, but you do want to keep away from other people.
That's a good point, actually, where you say, sorry to interrupt, Amanda, but the no lane ropes and things. Normally, when you're in a swimming pool, there's a bit of an order to things. And I know, obviously, at some venues, there isn't a bit of order to things, but there's a bit more, you're in the mix with people, aren't you? So it is definitely something to be aware of.
Yeah, there's a beautiful freedom to the open water because you generally have a lovely, potential big space, a lovely big body of water. But without the lane ropes, if everyone just has their head down all the time, then you could find yourself sort of knocking arms or something with someone. But you generally all travel in the same direction, so it shouldn't get any worse than that. You certainly wouldn't want any head-ons with anyone, but that would that's sort of quite unlikely as long as you're doing some sighting. But things like that come into more of an intermediate level. So the other sort of main difference as well with the water, as we said about the visibility, but it's the temperature of the water compared to a lovely warm swimming pool. The UK waters, are open waters, never get really warm, I'm very sorry to say. So they're always pretty much classed as cold water. That being said, I think it's always nice to go in with a tropical mindset, just to have mind over matter. So I think it's always good, to keep that nice positive perspective.
And actually there is lots of, as we know, lots of advantages to swimming in cold water as well. I mean, I know it's not necessarily everybody's cup of tea, and it might be something that you will work towards, obviously, and I know you're going to come on to acclimatisation later, Amanda, but there's lots of benefits, aren't there, to cold water immersion, and obviously taking lots of safety things into consideration, but there's something really quite special about it. So I wouldn't be put off by the cold water. It's just one of the things that you have to adjust to.
Something to embrace. Yeah. And we'll talk about sort of we'll talk about who the open water is for, but skipping sort of ahead to that, it is for anyone, and it's for any type of swimmer. So the opportunities, I think, in the open water are really great. You can be like Kath Pendleton, she basically comes alive in winter because the winter swimming's her favourite. So all through the summer, you'll just find her doing handstands and mermaid fun in the water, as opposed to the winter is when she actually gets down to knuckle down to her serious swimming. But you got from cold water immersion to just the enjoyment of being outdoors, to a more mindful swimming approach. Of course, there will be wildlife and other things to look at, and the weather as well,
which is really magical, isn't it? I think that's something that I never really thought about before I started open water swimming, which was only a couple of years ago, is all like that real connection with nature. I just saw it as like, oh, it's another place to swim, but actually the connection with nature is incredibly special, isn't it? It's really a huge plus.
It really is a plus, and I think anyone new to open water would probably be thinking, goodness, what is in the water? And that is often something that comes up of like, what is in there, what is going to touch me? But actually, like, you rarely come across very much, sort of sadly, just weed. So there's nothing that's going to be really wanting to come near us in the water. But we do have then the benefit of, like, most venues, they'll have, the birds flying overhead, geese sort of dipping down low. I mean, there's just really gorgeous things about it. And the sunlight, swimming at different times as well. You've got the different light and how that sort of plays on the water. No, it's really special. There's a lot to look forward to, like, even through the seasons of the different, seasons and weather and everything. There's a lot to look forward to, and there's a lot to offer, I think, the open water. But but for sort of, if you are a beginner and have never been before, then these things also, yes, magical, but could potentially have a little bit, which is totally understood as well. And all sort of coaches or venues and that will totally understand that, and will be able to talk you through it. So
that's a very normal fear, isn't it, at the beginning of open water swimming? And certainly was for me, and for many of the other girls who are now swimming more regularly. It's just such a normal thing. I think it's quite a human reaction. But, so don't worry if you are feeling like that. Everybody feels like that. Don't think, I can't do open water because I'm scared of it. Pretty much everybody's scared of it at the start. That's so normal.
And Steven Spielberg's got a lot to answer for, because anyone that's seen Jaws, this kind of ruins it. So just don't watch that again. And I get asked, even in the lakes and things, like, I just have to ask it, are there sharks? It's just like, no, you're fine, you'll be all right. No, there's no real nasties. But again, sort of seeing wildlife actually can be a real joy. I've sort of swam right up to where a frog was on the water, and I could hear the sound, and I was sort of wondering what it was, and it was beautiful. Just dived away and it was off. But yes, you can feel squeamish. Stuff will touch you in the water. I've sort of seen that one. Never swum where there are eels, so no experience of that.
Actually, we've just got a question there about rivers, and do we worry about bugs and critters and things like that? So while we're talking about different environments, do you want to just do a little bit about rivers, and it's perhaps not the first place you would go actually for an open water swim.
I'm not going to talk too much about it, because I think there's a lot that we did an intro to river swimming on its own, and we can certainly do another one of those, because there's a lot to talk about in rivers as a standalone. You've got moving body of water, you've got very different sort of prospects then in terms of what could be in it and how quickly that can change. For an intro, so I'm presuming for a lot of you that this is your first time in open water, so feel free to put in the comments if that is the case. So for first time in open water, again, sort of skipping around, then my recommendation would be a commercial swimming venue. So around us, we are really lucky to have lots of beautiful lakes and safe, lovely venues to swim in.
With lifeguards and support
to that, and then we'll come back to kit. So where swimming at a commercial venue has lots of benefits. Yes, there is a cost to it, and perhaps if we live down in Brighton, the lucky swimmers there can dip into the sea when they want and it's free. But what we do have is lifeguards, so there will be life-saving there. There'll be lifeguards on the water and people at the side. Slight caveat to that, obviously in COVID at the minute with social distancing, they're not venues wouldn't be doing. You swim at the risk of not being offered an unconscious rescue if that happens. So but that's very unlikely and it would be fine. So any rescues they'd hope that it would be at a point where they could throw you something. That's one of the main differences sort of with COVID at the minute because of the social distancing. But commercial venues, they'll have life-saving there. They're also, the operators will have controlled environment as much as possible. Water testing will be happening. There'll be temperature taken of the water. There can sometimes be management of some of the weeds or anything like that, if that's an issue. But also the people there will know that particular body of water and swim spot in absolute detail. So really great to be able to ask them anything about that. At all these venues as well, there'll be health forms and sort of waivers, things like that to fill in. Again, that's really for your safety and for their cover and know who's coming to the water. If you feel that there could be a reason that it might not be suitable for you to be in the open water at that point, or swimming or exercising, if you've got any underlying health issues, and always recommend anyway to get that checked out, but you will be asked that as part of like the forms and stuff you'd fill in. And when you get to a venue, you will probably be asked to do a little swim test as well. So the operators now want to be confident that you will be able to swim a particular distance. So bearing in mind that when you're used to swimming in a swimming pool where you could be touching the side every 25 meters, that option might not be available to you in a big body of water. And in some of the places, there might not be the opportunity to stop for 600 meters, or more. So it is a different, a different perspective on things in that respect. But we'll come to some of the safety elements and stuff as well. And in fact, we can come back to some more detail on the venue, shall we? Should we talk through kit and stuff, things you want to take when you go?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the basics, really. So what everybody, I think, wants to know, Amanda, is should I be wearing a wetsuit?
Okay, well, it's absolutely fine if you want to wear a wetsuit or not. So a lot of the commercial venues will actually insist on wetsuits under 16 degrees. So that's kind of like mid-May time. If before that it is cold water, the chances of cold water shock and things like that are increased, and obviously you'd have a lot less time in the water because you get cold essentially. So wetsuits are great, and if you feel comfortable in a wetsuit, then yeah, brilliant, go for it.
It's quite nice for a bit of buoyancy as well, isn't it? Particularly when you're starting out. I know I was more comfortable in a wetsuit, not just from a sort of temperature point of view, but just because it made me feel quite safe, actually, because it gives you that buoyancy, and also because I was a little bit nervous about things in the water and so on. That it just gave me a level of protection, just made me feel a little bit better.
You can feel quite vulnerable in a big body of water, and stuff touching you. No, wetsuits, they're great. You know, they obviously do keep you a bit warmer for longer. That doesn't mean that you can just obviously swim infinitely. You will at some point need to exit the water. But no, wetsuits are great for that. They do change your buoyancy. So actually, some people don't like swimming in wetsuits because they might be unnaturally positioned then in the water. But for some people that might feel they're a little bit sinky, then actually wetsuits, can be good. And I mean, there's entry level and you can go up to very technical detail. But what I would say for a wetsuit is, if you can and you want to swim in a wetsuit, you can hire them at most venues to start, so you can get a feel for it. But go for a swim wetsuit, because there are differences between the surf wetsuits and a swimming wetsuit. And I've just seen,
just in terms of being able to move, like the swim wetsuits are a bit
parts. Yeah, they've got different sort of buoyancy points. You can get them for the technicality on the buoyancy, but they also like where the warmth plates are and stuff, and different materials over the shoulders to give more maneuverability. I've seen about a shorty wetsuit. They can be quite thick and they can be quite ill-fitting. And if you've got water flushing into your wetsuit, it's not going to be doing the job that you want it to do. And you will sort of get a bit chilled. Also, if you were planning on swimming in a wetsuit or partaking in any events, shorties are not normally allowed. So normally they have to be long leg. You can have sleeveless, but you normally have to have the length in the leg. So that's something to think about if you're investing in a wetsuit for a particular event or purpose. You really do want to double check that, because otherwise it's quite a lot to use. Yeah.
Oh, shall we think about feet and hands as well, as soon as we've talked about wetsuits?
So for cold water, you can go full neoprene. There's hats, there's booties, there's gloves. You name it. There's anything and everything you want. And if that makes you feel comfortable, then great. You know, go for it. There's absolutely. The main thing about going to the open water is that you enjoy it and feel comfortable and have a lovely time. Whether that means that you like to be in a wetsuit or not, it's absolutely all okay. So I
think that's the point, isn't it? Is there's no set standard for, you know, if you go open water swimming, you wear this. I think it's that, you go with the basics maybe to start with, and then you find what suits you. And I guess over time, then you maybe buy the kit. And at first, obviously, as you said, Amanda, we can hire kit from the venues as well to try out different things in the beginning.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's not too costly.
A question I do get asked sometimes about wearing a swimming costume under your wetsuit. Yes, please.
Yes.
You tend to want to get it off. And believe me, if you've managed to get a wetsuit on, it's feet sometimes getting it off. So, but wetsuits are swimming costumes, and that are worn under them, or bikinis, whatever. And in fact, you could do a whole thing on getting wetsuits on and off and the merits of So I think it's a longer conversation. But if you're joining in the WhatsApp groups, then there'll be people with a range of experience on the wetsuits and stuff. So you want your costume. Absolutely essential is a bright coloured swimming hat. Not a fabric hat either. So latex or silicone hat. The main
Girls Live do a great one, yellow.
Do a very nice shade of yellow like this. The couple of main reasons for the swimming hat are they keep the warmth in your head, so you lose a lot of heat through your head, but also they make you incredibly visible in the water, and you will not be able to swim without a swimming hat. So there won't be any venue that allows you to swim without a swimming hat. Goggles if you want. Goggles if you want them. So if you're going to be putting your face in, then yes, I would recommend goggles. And a lot of people like to wear earplugs as well. Especially, well, obviously, if you know that you get water in your ears or what have you, then do. But if you are planning on swimming in the colder water and putting your face in, then earplugs actually can be quite good for helping just keep the cool out of your brain.
And actually, you're right, not automatically goggles, because if you're wanting to swim breaststroke and you are swimming with your head up,
Yeah.
And if that's how you're going to swim, of course, you don't need goggles.
No.
You know, and at the moment, anybody who's sort of pretty much anybody who's dipping, doing cold water dipping at the moment, we're going in with bobble hats and no goggles because we're not putting our faces in the water. And again, that's just, you know, perfectly acceptable. You do it your own way.
Yeah, no, it's goggles only if you want to. Tow floats. So tow floats are a good bit of kit to invest in if you are going to be swimming in open water regularly. If you are going to go skins, which is no wetsuit, so it's just swimming costume. So a tow float is mandatory in some venues. So Divers Cove, if you're swimming skins, you have to have a tow float. I have mine, well, one of mine with me. It's oh, where's the camera? There. So it's just an little inflatable that then ties. There's a tether sort of that goes around your waist. They're not a life-saving device, so they're not something you use as, you know, to depend on that. But what they would give you is time to attract attention. You can rest holding on to them, so they do give you that time.
Quite nice comforter, actually, particularly when you first start. I still use mine now, but I think definitely at first I found that quite a comfort, just knowing that actually I could stop and turn around, just have a little bob, holding on to my tow float, and just have a little rest whenever I liked.
And that is good. That is good, and I think they are good for that reason. But don't go into the water with a tow
relying on it,
swimming, going, it's okay, I've got my tow float. That's what I mean by it's not life-saving. It isn't for that purpose. It's lovely for that, but it's not strictly for that purpose. So don't let it boost your inflate your confidence artificially, essentially. It does make you very visible as well. So you know, lakes, it's fine, you would have your lifeguards and that watching you, but if you are in any other bodies of water, rivers especially, you know, if you've got boats and other things, the sea, paddleboarders, whatever, you know, it to be visible is really important, but it would give you that extra time, I think. So as much as what's important going in the water, for me, actually, one of the most important things to have is what goes on after. As we said, the bodies of water in the UK are generally always cold. Even midsummer, it can feel very chilly, depending on what type of water you were in and how used to being in the water you are. Lots of other things as well, like the weather and, you know, windy, if it's cold air temperature, how well you've slept, what you've eaten. There's loads and loads of things. We could go into lots of detail about that. But the clothing for after to warm up is really critical. And this isn't just winter, this is summer as well. So I'm there with my bobble hat on, you know, my big dry robe and other bits through summer as well. You want warm, loose layers, and I can't stress the loose enough, not stretchy, clingy things.
Totally.
Cold, you cannot stretch that over your skin. It's awful.
And not a jumper or a hoodie that's a bit tight and hard to get on. You want one with a zip. You know, I take this one.
The ugliest thing in your wardrobe, basically.
Yeah, the most comfortable.
Yeah, the ugliest. I raided my husband's thermals. Yeah, I just got my husband's thermals because they're much bigger than mine, and they're brilliant. So go. It isn't a really attractive sport in that respect, I don't think.
Not glamorous.
It's not glamorous, no. You just have to go with comfort always. But I think the lockdown has shown us the power of loungewear, so I think we're all good with that.
Exactly. So I'm going to just give you a time check, Amanda. We're on 23 minutes, so we've got 7 minutes to go. That's all right. Come on, let's go on to the
okay, right, go. Right,
hey, that's the best bit.
Essential. So woolly hat essential. Layer your clothes up in the order you're going to put them on. Pants are overrated. Don't worry about pants. Just get layers on. Warm up. Never worry about that. You do want a hat. So hat is essential. Hat is absolutely essential. A warm drink as well. So a little thermos of a warm drink, whatever you fancy. For when it does get sunny, sunscreen, really important because you will burn in the water. You know, it really does have an effect. Shoes as well. So you might want slip-on shoes. There was a big demand for fluffy Crocs or style Crocs, clogs. They're really good for the water because if your feet do get cold and your feet are wet, then flip-flops can be pretty much useless. Nice fluffy Crocs are great. If you're going in the water like rivers and stuff, then I would also say to wear neoprene boots into the water. There's a variety of change mats that you can use. So something to stand on. You can stand on a towel. Obviously, we'll get muddy, but some people bring AstroTurf. We've got bath mats. Yeah,
I have a bath mat or
bin
bath
liner.
mat if you're from down south.
Bin liner is always a good one. And then just for sanitizing, always bring some cold water, water to rinse your mouth out. So not just a drink, but to rinse out, and then hand sanitizer before you start putting anything in your mouth. So would be thought. I'm gonna dip to the places to swim.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We've sort of covered swim for anyone, haven't we?
Well, kind of we did about really with everything. The swimming, do not feel that you need to get into the water and launch into your very fastest front crawl. I know that there can be a few sort of misconceptions about it being for for competitive triathletes or stuff like that, or equally on the flip side that you have to be a semi-naked cold swimmer in your hats and stuff with wielding your axe for the ice. That's not the case.
There's a lot in between, isn't there?
There's a lot. There is a lot in between. And if you want to go into the water doing head up breaststrokes so you can chat or just take the environment, great, go for it. If you want to be training and doing front crawl, go for it. If you want to whip out your best butterfly, brilliant. Backstroke can be tricky because you've got nothing to guide you, the clouds or something, so you just have to keep on that one. But
it really is for everybody, isn't it? It really is for everybody in all ages and all abilities, as long as you can swim safely. It really is, it's any stroke, and really for anybody. We see that all the time, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Like the mindful swimming, the mooching, the dipping, the enjoying being outside, to if you're training for events or endurance or whatever. Yeah, it's all there, which is good. So the venues that we've got local to us, we've got the Shack at Buckland, so just outside of Reigate. These are all lovely venues, so I won't say that each time because I love them all.
They all are.
So the Shack at Buckland, so it's about 350 to 400 meter loop round. There's sort of beach all round. There's a nice sort of open beach area there. There is a larger lake as well, which might at some point be open for events or safaris, but it's mainly that loop. There's Divers Cove in Godstone. That's got 2 loops. That's got a 450 and a 650 meter loop. Again, sort of lovely water, but you've got those options coming in. It's a beach entry on that one as well. Shepperton is a 400 and a 750 meter loop. Again, a small sort of beach entry there, but it's got a nice wide sort of grass area next to it. And really great. Lots of parking, very easy. There's Key Swims down at Mitchett near Camberley. That is a 750 loop, and they've got 2 actually smaller options. So they've got a 200. I think it's a 200 and like a 400, roughly around those.
That's quite nice, isn't it? A 200 loop, particularly for your first few times in open water. That's a nice.
Yeah. So
sort of loop.
Will take you around that. So they can watch you sort of as first sort of getting in the water. They're all very different venues in terms of what the water kind of looks and feels like. Some have got more weeds than others. Some have got sandy beds and sort of come across sort of turquoisey blue. Some you can stand up. There's different merits to each, I think, and it's nice to experience different bodies of water and see what you like. French and Ponds is another one. Now this is a non-commercial venue, so there aren't lifeguards and things there, but they've got a couple of swim zones and you can stand. It's quite shallow in all of it, so you can stand in that, and they're not massive areas, but it's a really lovely place to go, and there are life rings and things there, and a lot of swimmers. There's a lot of swimmers there over winter.
I'm going to have to move us on to Coldwater safety. Sorry, I know.
Safety. Yeah, safety is obviously the utmost importance for any open water. The cold water is one of the biggest factors about it. So you need to gradually acclimatise to the cold water. Kind of dipping about, part of the safety, before you swim, I'd just recommend to do an intro to open water swimming. the safety elements will be gone through with you in thorough detail.
Yeah.
All about how to deal with the cold water shock, how to work your wetsuit, also what to do sort of safety wise when you're there. It's not a bit that I want to rush over, but again, we can do sort of other ones on it. But take your time.
And also we're hoping, as you say, people will do an introduction. I think that's really important. We certainly have all done one, introduction to open water, where tonight really we're just able to really just skip over the basics, but there's so much to go into, and you can cover it more on an intro, can't you?
You can. I mean, the long and short is, if you're going for the first time, is yes, ideally you would do some form of intro to open water or intro to the venues, but take your time. Don't feel panicked that you rush in. The really, you do want to take your time, just slowly getting used to the water, getting used to the environment, and you can splash the water, hands, face coming round. Then the most important thing for safety wise is you don't want to panic. You don't want to panic in the water. If that did happen at any point, one of the key things, again, you might be asked to do this in a swim test, is to float on your back. So at any point, if you want to rest, if you need help, you float on your back. Your face is going to be out the water. It's quite nice, especially if there's been any panics involving anything in the water. It just takes your eye line away from that. But you can then lay and raise a hand. It's not very clear me doing that. If you raise any part, waving, obviously if you can holler, then someone will come very quickly to your aid. Literally, if anything, there's no point in leaving that thinking I'll be fine, and then not. Like, just speak to someone. It's absolutely fine. So floating is really the most important thing. The cold water shock is something that you're very likely to experience when you enter the water. And this is okay in a controlled environment because you can get a hold of your breathing. So it's when you get the shallow, rapid breathing, sort of like hyperventilating. You can feel like you want to claw at your neck. It can feel quite panicky and send your blood pressure up a little bit. So the main thing is breathing that out. Nice sort of deep breaths. That's fine on a controlled entry. If you go and jump into cold water and that happens, and you take an involuntary breath underwater, it's not good. We're not the Little Mermaid. It doesn't work out.
But what you're saying though is the cold water shock when you first get into the cold water is a normal body reaction, isn't it? And as cold water swimmers, I guess what we do is we learn to slowly control our breathing so that we can then get comfortable with the temperature and enter safely into the open water. And the risk comes when you fall in the water. If you're a hiker or a run or something, and somebody falls in the water and they're not expecting to fall in the water, that can obviously be very dangerous.
And an entry point, if you're entering a body of water where there isn't the ability to just gradually get in, some places or events, you might be jumping off of pontoons. Again, there's sort of other conversations, but all of these venues, you can fairly gradually get into the water. But it does pass. That cold water shock does pass. You get your breathing down. Again, even in that, you can float and just relax and breathe. It will pass, and then you can go about your swimming. But that is sort of the essential thing that I would just say is just don't rush. Just take in the environment, take your time, and do what needs. Don't be pressured that there's people just running in. Off they go into.
Let them go.
Good for them. But if you need time on the side, then do it. It's absolutely fine.
And you'll see people, won't you? Everybody has their own different way of getting in. Some people take a long time to get in. Even some of our really experienced swimmers still get in swearing. We won't say who that is. But
hollering, all sorts of just lots of, or somebody just totally silent, like serious. It's fine. Anything goes. But it's just as long as you're safe and more in control of that experience and that entry to the water, and you can acclimatise over time, and actually you don't then get that cold water shock. which is nice to know. On the note of safety, the Girls Live and me as a coach generally would always say that all open water swimmers need to do. There's a free half an hour online course on water safety. It just covers all the basics. I would absolutely love everyone to do that. It really doesn't take long, but it covers about cold water, it covers about hypothermia, just again, enough just to give you a real awareness of the power of the water and how you need to respect that. Also, it finishes off with doing some rescues, which you need to watch the video, but don't you go jumping in water rescuing people. It's like throw rescues and also CPR. And I know, I mean, I'm trained lifeguard and open water lifeguard and first aider. I can do CPR, but if something happened to me, I'd like to know that the people are swimming around me have that kind of basic training. So it's for everyone. It's not just about you. It's about looking after your swim buddies, and swimming is very much a kind of a community sport where you do look out for your friends, you do look out for the strangers, you look out for other people in the water, and that's one of the beauties of it actually, is people talk, people look out for each other. So we can share the link to that
absolutely,
or on the groups, but
it's just about us as a community being as safe as we can and being able to support one another. There's nothing better than that, is that knowing that you have equipped yourself with the ability to help somebody else around you who might get into trouble, and also just having that knowledge for your own safety as well.
Yeah, really useful.
Thanks, Amanda. We've already run over, and I knew we would.
I know.
Hey. So can we just just to talk very briefly from a Girls Alive point of view about what we hope to bring you this year. Now, obviously, we're still a little bit, it's still in development, and tomorrow evening we actually have a meeting of our swim steering group where we will get a bit more of a handle on exactly what we're able to offer this year. But we are at the moment working with some venues to try and organise, firstly, a female-only swimming session. It might not necessarily be a Girls Alive only session, but we're hoping to have a venue that will have a women's only session where we can obviously have a regular Girls Alive meet, and that won't be coached. That will just be a question of us coming together as a group and being able to swim and support one another. So that will be for everybody. And then for people who are newer to open water, we again are hoping to run a weekly intro to open water session. So it's likely to be in an evening. We don't know exactly when yet, but we're working towards that. And Amanda and another couple of our female coaches will be running those sessions. But we really hope that that will be a regular thing, and so that you can slowly build your confidence. It's not like going and just doing one intro, a few hours of an intro open water. This will be, shorter sessions regularly, once a week, so that you can slowly build your confidence over time.
Would there be intros for complete beginners, so first time in the water, take you in the water first time and going through all of the things we discussed about safety, cold water, etc. But then also we're going to have a level just up from that where you are still a beginner swimmer, or feel that you just need the confidence of going around chaperoned or coached in small groups. So there'll be kind of two levels to that beginner, and then I'll let you carry on with the other sort of
so those will be, thanks Amanda. So those will all be small groups as well, between 4 and 6, something like that. 6 will be the maximum number in the group. So it's really nice because each group will have a coach with them as a lovely small number to really kind of work with the coach. And swimming in pools, unfortunately, I really cannot tell you very much at the moment because we absolutely do not know. And of course, we're working with Rona and people like that from Dorking Swimming Pool, and also St John's School as well, about hopefully getting some of our pool swimming back going. But I will update you on that. Like I say, we've got our meeting tomorrow night, and we hope to be able to bring you some more news on that quite soon. But right now, I just can't confirm. However, pools are opening up, and if anybody really is desperate for a pool dip, I can highly recommend Hampton Lido. I know it's a little bit of a trek, but it is absolutely beautiful. You can swim outdoors, so you get that feeling of swimming outdoors, but the pool is actually heated, so it's a really lovely, it might be a nice transition actually from indoor pool swimming to go to an outdoor pool before you even dip your toe in the open water. So yeah, so that's
Cool.
us. Yeah.
I've just seen Carolyn kindly just sharing. Yeah, Carolyn's kindly sharing the link actually to the safety course. But I know we'll distribute it on the WhatsApp as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it feels like it's a very just quick.
I know.
Talk about.
There's so much to say. But we will, obviously, we can run some further Skills Alive sessions if you want to just home in on a particular aspect of open water swimming, or something particularly on sea swimming and so on. That's one thing that I didn't say, is we're also working towards some intro to sea swimming coming later towards the summer, and we'll keep you updated.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much, Amanda, for taking the time to share your knowledge with us this evening. And we'll see you soon, everybody.
Cool.
Bye.
Bye.